All right, guys, welcome back to Let's Talk Ball. This is episode 16, and we are going to recap what's happened in the Premier League recently and really talk about how things are getting a little crazy with the title race. We see Liverpool pulling away at the top of the table. And then after that, we'll get into the rest of some other Premier League news, touch on some FPL at the end as well. But we got a lot for you. But before we hop into that, Spain, how you doing?
Doing well. Just got back from Thanksgiving, being back home with the family, so that was all good. Watched a good amount of soccer, played a good amount of soccer, and ready to got midweek games going on. So jumping into tons of fixtures coming up. So looking forward to this busy season of football and the holidays. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well as well. Thanksgiving was good. It's good to be back. Good to be talking more footy. I'm glad that we're getting to this period where we've gotten away from where there's all the international breaks and breaks without footy, and now we got midweek games coming up. So I'm excited to talk about all those and break it down. I think a big story from the weekend was obviously Manchester City versus Liverpool. That game ended, I believe, what was it, 2-0 in favor of Liverpool at the end.
Yep.
So I feel like we really need to talk about that. Talk about how City has now lost. I believe it's what 6 out of 7 of their last games, and they're really in terrible form. Whereas seems to be flying. They are now 9 points clear at the top of the table, ahead of Arsenal and Chelsea. And so, as we get into this, I just want to ask you, as an Arsenal fan, how do you feel about the title race? What are your opinions about what's going on right now?
Yeah, not feeling great because Liverpool keep winning all three games and keep not extending that lead, but they've got a 9 point lead, and yeah, they keep pulling out these wins. Not pulling them out, I guess. They keep winning, deservedly so for most of them. I still don't think they're going to keep up with the pace they're going at. They're on track to score like 99.4 points if you average it out over 38 games. I think that's really hard for them to. It'll be really hard for them to reach 99 points to keep up this pace that they're going at. But if they do, I mean, they deserve to win the league. So I don't expect that to happen. So I expect us to be able to claw back and make it closer. And then we play them at Anfield the second half of the season. So it'll come down. That'll be a huge game for us to hopefully take points off of them.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of people, not a lot, I'm seeing a few people try and talk about, oh, the title race is over, give it to Liverpool. I mean, admittedly, a lot of that's coming from Liverpool fans themselves. But I think I'm right there with you as far as I don't think Liverpool can keep up this pace. And here's why I think that. I think Liverpool, in my opinion, is running hot on. I think what it is just the variance bug hasn't caught up to Liverpool, and it's caught up pretty heavily to the other two title contenders in City and Arsenal. If you look at the season, Liverpool has had, in my opinion, no major injuries to their players. They had a couple weeks without Trent Alexander-Arnold, but they can get away with that. And then outside of that, no other major players have been hurt. I think if they were to lose someone like a Mo Salah or a Virgil van Dijk, or maybe in midfield, I think someone that is underrated for them has been, everyone's talking about Ryan Gravenberch, but I think Curtis Jones also does a lot for them in midfield as far as being able to control games, take the sting out of the games, make them a little bit less chaotic. Like, well, one of Liverpool's issues was the back and forth basketball nature of their games and how they came out on the worst side of that under Klopp at times. And I think Curtis Jones is someone that's perfect for Arne Slot, who likes to play vertically and play fast, play counterattacks, but also likes a little bit more control. And I think he's the perfect midfielder for that. But all that to say, to go back to my main point, I think Liverpool has been pretty lucky as far as not losing any key players yet. And then also, they have not been on the losing end of any big VAR or reffing decisions, at least as far as I can remember this season. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but all that to say, I don't think that they can keep that up. And I do think that the title is still very much, title race is still very much open and not near being over yet.
Yeah, I think those are great points you make, and I would agree with them. Arsenal have lost Odegaard for a good number of games, and that really, really hurt us because he's our most important player. I'd say Saka's our best player, Odegaard's our most important player. if Liverpool were to lose Mo Salah or Van Dijk, they would be in a much bigger trouble than they are. Losing Trent hurts them, but like you said, he's not as important to them. They can replace him with Connor Bradley and still function. And then like some of the red cards we got early in the season, if we had Saliba in that Liverpool match, I don't think we would have lost. We would end up drawing that game. We would have held out and won that game. So yeah, I still think Arsenal's squad is really great. We're missing depth in a few positions, and we've got on the wrong side of the variance bug, as you mentioned. So that's why we're probably down a few more points than I expected us to be. But I think we are playing great right now, and I think we will contend with Liverpool for the rest of the season, and we will close that gap.
Yeah. So if you had to power rank the title contending teams between Liverpool, Arsenal, City, and since Chelsea's there on points right now, I'll throw them in there. How would you power rank them?
Liverpool, us, and City and Chelsea's honestly kind of tough. I'm shocked to be saying that. At the beginning of the season, there's no way I would have said that. But City just looks so bad. Right now, we have to say Chelsea over City, based off current form. Until something changes with City, until I see something, any adjustments that Pep makes that makes a difference, I'm gonna have to put Chelsea even ahead of City at the moment. But Liverpool, just because they've got that 9 point lead. Arsenal, I think we're firmly the second best team in the league. I think we're the best team in the league, honestly. Definitely some bias on my end, but I still think we're the best team overall. We just had some tough breaks against us, and Liverpool have run really hot, as you mentioned. But yeah, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, City.
Gotcha. Yeah, I like that. I think if I had to reverse that question back to me, I'd probably go. I think Arsenal. I agree with you. I think Arsenal is the best team in the league in terms of talent, depth, just on field. What I'm seeing from them, and then I think Liverpool is so good and has that lead that they have to be up in the discussion as well. I just think they're in a little bit more fragile state than Arsenal. Even though it looks like Liverpool has more momentum than Arsenal maybe in this moment, I think their season can fall apart more quickly than Arsenal's can. And then Chelsea City, like you said, it's like kind of funny that this is even a debate at all in this moment. But I worry for City because their key injuries are to Rodri, who is not coming back anytime soon, and then Kevin De Bruyne, who, yeah, I think he's coming back to fitness, but I just have not. It seems like he's got those injuries that are going to linger, and he's not ever going to be able to be like that guy that's going to carry City like he has been. And it doesn't look like they've got anyone in the squad willing to step up and be that difference maker like they've had in past years. Like last year, I think Phil Foden stepped up in moments. And then in years before that, it was Gundogan and Mahrez coming through with a run of goals. But it doesn't look like they've got that guy in their squad this season. And also, the issue with City seems to look very different this year. Not very different, but more different this year. Like I think they look more defensively susceptible than they have in years past. I was looking at the data, and this is from the beginning of November, so I'm sure it's even worse now. But it looks like they're giving up more expected goals against than ever, and I'm not really sure how they fixed that. Look, I guess Rodri helped in that regard, but I really couldn't tell you tactically what exactly is going wrong for them, other than it seems like there's a little bit of a lack of focus, a little bit of a lack of leadership, and then they just are giving up more goals and also aren't able to keep up and score as many goals either. I think they're not as ruthless in front of goal in games past where they might have scored early and put a couple away and put teams away early. I just think they're not able to do that right now with the current setup. And so that's been really interesting to watch. And I'm not really sure how Pep is going to fix that without having to go to the market. I don't know if there's solutions in-house for him.
Yeah, what I was noticing watching the highlights again from the Liverpool City game, what I think is leading to a lot of them giving up more chances is that they're not able to press as well because of the aging squad and the lack of like Rodri and some of the better players. And so it's leading to bigger chances. Like Liverpool had so many balls in behind that City usually don't give up. They're either countering so the players can't play that ball in behind, they're fouling them before they do, or if someone's breaking to break the lines, they're going to foul them before they can get that ball off. But City does look to be able to stop. Their press isn't good enough this year to stop that initial long ball. So teams are getting in behind. This happened with a bunch of teams. City have been giving up at least 1 or 2 big chances every game to balls in behind because they have a weak press and their players are aging. Gundogan's looked pretty terrible this year. He can't move. Bernardo's aging. Rico Lewis is young. And they're also just turning the ball over a ton. Something else I noticed in the Liverpool game. In midfield, they just turn the ball over. Rico Lewis is turning it over. Akanji's saw him turn it over. They're just not nearly as calm on the ball and secure on the ball. So between those two things, it's leading to so many big chances. Teams just running at their back four.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I like what you pointed out about the press not being as strong and just having an aging squad. I think where they really took a hit this season is physicality in terms of their athleticism. Like you said, Gundogan aging. Even someone like Kevin De Bruyne made such a difference just in terms of athleticism. Like he could get on the ball, at least on the ball. He was able to get it, drive forward. And I think that's one thing that they haven't been able to replace. Yeah, he's got a great final ball, but even just the ability to kind of carry through midfield. Rico Lewis is doing a lot of that carrying, but he's not as, robust. He can get pushed off the ball a little bit easier. Doesn't have as much power moving forward. And like you said, Bernardo Silva is getting up there in age as well. He was someone that's always been physically at it, even though being a smaller frame, but he just looks a little bit slower, a little bit more off it this year. And so I think they really need to revamp that engine room at City. As far as signings that I think that could help them, I don't think this is realistic in the January transfer window for them, but I think someone like Bruno Guimaraes would be perfect for them. Someone that's got the passing range and the technical ability, but also can fight and kind of just be a dog in midfield as far as the physicality comes. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how they try and fix those issues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't see them fixing it without new player additions, and I don't see. They could make a lot of good signings in the winter, but that usually doesn't happen. Players usually aren't available, so it's really hard to make those changes. So I don't see the changes City getting drastically better to put up a title challenge or to necessarily even finish above Chelsea. But we'll see.
Yeah, we shall see. I think the one signing that they can maybe make in January is probably going to be kind of a stopgap midfielder. I don't think they'll get their elite world-beating midfielder in January. I could stand corrected, but I don't see that happening. And then something else to keep in mind is PSR and financial fair play is a lot more strict, so they can't just go splash the cash maybe like they did in the past. So I think there's going to need to be some movement in the City squad as well. Players are probably going to need to be sold to kind of revamp other areas. So something to watch for as this goes on. But I agree that you said I don't think City can even do enough in January to end up competing for the title. But I do think, as we mentioned, Arsenal can be up there as well. Is there anything you think Arsenal needs to do to make sure that they can compete with Liverpool moving forward?
Stay healthy and don't get time-wasting red cards. Those are the things. The dumb red cards and the injuries to Odegaard have been the two things that have really cost us games this season. Other than that, I think we've been really, really great this year. I do think we could add some more players, obviously. We could score some more goals. We've been scoring a lot recently. We scored 5 goals back-to-back games, which is kind of crazy, 2 away games. So we are doing that. But no, I think we've been great this year, minus those random games and the Odegaard injury. I would like to see us sign someone for Odegaard cover, because if he does get injured, everyone saw how kind of we just almost fall apart creativity-wise. We're not able to pass the ball through the middle at all, and we rely on Saka way too much. So if we could sign a backup for Odegaard, that'd be big. And then center back cover would be nice too. I would like to see us sell Kivior and replace him, just because I don't think he's good enough if we do lose Saliba or Gabriel for an extended period of time. And then left wing, that was coming into the season. That's something everyone knew we wanted a better left winger, just because Martinelli wasn't great last year. Trossard also wasn't that, or he was good here and there. He kind of comes in sprints and better off the bench, in my opinion. So if we could find a world-class left winger, but I don't expect that to happen in the winter.
Yeah.
Other than us making a couple signings, especially like I said, the Odegaard cover, there's nothing really I can want. I mean, we're playing some of our best football over these past 2 games, so I can't really want more from the team at the moment.
Yeah, I get that. I feel like I agree. You guys are like Odegaard came back and helped kind of knit things together, and it seems like the team's firing on all cylinders again. And so I think if as long as you can just kind of keep up this level of play, I think you'll have no problem kind of clawing back against Liverpool as they kind of drop points here and there. I just see them dropping more points than you guys do, and then the real biggest test and basically where the league could be won is going to be at Anfield, Arsenal versus Liverpool. If you guys can beat them, that's a 6-point swing. And then at that point, all Liverpool has to do is lose one game and you guys win one and you're right back level on points. So that's going to be a huge matchup come that time. But we'll see. Lots of exciting stuff. I'm glad that there's a little bit more of an interesting and less predictable title race at the end of the day in the Premier League. I think that's good for all neutral fans. And I was tired of seeing Man City win it all, and I'm here for the downfall. I also love the head loss that I'm seeing. I love seeing Pep holding up the 6 to the Liverpool fans at the end of the game. It's just very interesting to see how City's coping with this period right now. I mean, I honestly kind of just feel bad at this point. I really, after the first 2-3 losses in a row, I really didn't think we'd still be here talking about how City hasn't won a game. So it's been one of the craziest storylines of the season for me.
Yeah, I feel like almost people are feeling bad for them not talking, not criticizing City enough for how bad they've been, just because everyone's expecting them to be so good. Like, I feel like Foden's getting no criticism for having 1 assist and 0 goals this far into the season after being Player of the Year last year and getting all this praise. Like, no one's criticizing him at all. I don't really hear people criticizing Haaland or criticizing Pep. They're saying what's happening. They'll figure it out eventually. Blah blah blah. So I'd love to get some more criticism from pundits and the general community.
I agree. I've been doing the criticism quietly in my group messages and stuff like that, making sure that they hear it. But this just kind of goes back to my I've had the theory, I've said it all year, even going back to last year. I think Erling Haaland goes some big games. I feel like he struggles to score goals and contribute when his team needs him on the biggest stage. And then Phil Foden as well. System player, and when the system isn't working, he looks non-existent, and we're seeing that now. But I digress. Hopefully, I don't know. I do hope City figures it out just so that things still remain semi-competitive at the top, but I don't want to see them win.
Yeah, and also I hope it's kind of embarrassing I hope Erling Haaland was embarrassed and thinks about his stay humble that he spoke to Arsenal and Arteta after they squeaked out a draw against us at home when we were the much better team. Because I know whenever I have an embarrassing moment, I'll think about it for a long time. So I really hope Erling Haaland's in bed just thinking about how embarrassed he is saying that, and then them going on this terrible run.
Yeah, I meant to bring that up earlier. I thought that is hilarious that I can't remember the exact stat, but since telling Arteta to stay humble, I think he's scored like 1 goal off of like 4 XG generated or something like that, just having a generationally bad run for as far as Erling Haaland standards go.
Yeah, it's great. Some great karma right there for him, which he desperately needed, because he, of all people, needed to be humbled.
He did. I mean, that's crazy what he did after that game for him to talk like that. But, time always reveals all, and it seems like he's getting his karma right back. But we can move on to some other Premier League news now that we've talked about the title. One thing I want to touch on real quick is Manchester United is another storyline from the weekend. We've got an exciting new manager bounce going on with Amorim's start at United. I believe he's got 1 draw and 2 wins so far in his first 3 games. 1 draw in the league versus Ipswich, a win versus Bodo Glimt in Europa League midweek, and then we played Everton and won 4-0 at Old Trafford this past weekend. And from a United fans' perspective, one, I love seeing the results coming. But what I love even more, as someone that likes to watch closely, is I do feel like the performances have been pretty promising as well. Not perfect. I think Bodo Glimt in the Europa League was a better performance with a worse scoreline than Everton. Everton, I think we put up a good performance, especially in the second half. But there was definitely moments where we could have been punished, and especially moments at 0-0 where if Everton can kind of get on the scoreboard first, I think that game goes a bit differently. But all to say, I think I'm happy as a United fan watching Amorim, and I think one thing that I want to call out that I have loved the most is, and this is something I kind of predicted coming in after reading up on him, but I love the way that he's handled the media and the way that he's spoken publicly about the players, about the team, and about his philosophy. He's very honest, very straightforward. He's the first one to tell you that he thinks that, yeah, the scoreline was great against Everton, but the performance could have been better. And I love that he's coming out and calling things like it is and not trying to sugarcoat things or be deceptive here. I think he's just a very straightforward guy, and I think he's winning over people pretty quickly with the way that he handles himself and the way he speaks publicly.
Mm-hmm.
Let's
Yeah.
see.
Were there any specific players you wanted to touch base on? Because I was really impressed with Ahmad last game. His pressing was crazy. He created so many good changes for you guys and had some really good final balls. I think he had two assists.
Mm-hmm.
And even some passes that didn't lead to final balls, but he looked really good in the system, playing at right wing back, really pushing forward. And then Rashford's resurgence and scoring goals, playing up top, has also been. That's something we talked about preseason. It was important for United to have Rashford scoring again, so that looks to be really promising for you guys. Any other you want to speak on Ahmad and Rashford or any other players quickly?
Yeah, I would love to speak on a few players. I think that's another thing that I love that he's done. I think his man management has been really good. He's been able, one, to communicate the ideas of what he wants out of the system to the players. But I think one thing that he really focuses on, and I've heard him specifically talk about it in his interviews, is he really understands what the players' strengths and weaknesses are and how to platform them accurately and platform them well. Like speaking on Rashford, he played Rashford at striker in the first match, and I think, as I mentioned, I think in our last podcast, I mentioned that I think that was just because, or maybe it was in our DMs, that it was just because he was in training. Hoyland didn't have a full week of training leading up to the game, and so he played Rashford at striker. But immediately after the game, he said, "I actually don't think that's Rashford's best position." Playing as a striker, I think he needs to play as one of our attacking forwards or one of those tens because we don't need him playing back to goal, having to fight the big center backs, but we still want him near goal. And you've seen that change now that he's played in the 10 position. He's gone on and scored. He scored, what, 2 goals against Everton
Mm-hmm.
playing in that 10 position with Xerxes playing at striker, and he's able to run off the striker and not have to do so much of the hold-up play that Xerxes or Hoyland is better at. And that's something that Amorim is very good at. As far as other players that I think he's platformed well, Amad Diallo obviously is on fire right now. His form was kind of there even pre-Amorim, but I think Amorim's bringing the best out of him still. He's always someone that works hard. He's a really technical player, and Amorim's getting him in the right spaces. Like, so even though he's a nominal right wing back, he's still kind of our outlet on the right and essentially just playing a right winger role. And all he has to do is kind of track back. And Amorim said, yeah, he's a right wing back, but if you look at who he's marking the opposition's left back, which is something that a right winger would do anyway. So it's not like he's doing anything too crazy out of possession either, even though his nominal position is different. And
Mm-hmm.
so there's little nuances and details like that that I think Amorim does a really good job of explaining clearly, and you can see the benefits of that on the field. Another player that I want to highlight is Nasir Mazraoui. I think he's having an incredible season. Not the flashiest player in the world, but super, super solid. Like, I'm talking like 7.5, 8 out of 10 every single game. He barely puts a foot wrong, reads the game really well. He's good at dueling defensively, but he's also good at the ball or good on the ball, rarely gives it away. He's great under pressure. Like, he's probably been our signing of the season so far. We signed him for 12.5 mil, and he's playing like someone that's worth probably like double, triple that price right now. And so he's someone that I think definitely deserves his flowers. I think he's getting it now, eventually, but at the beginning of the season, he's been this good since the start of the game or since the start of the season, and he's just now getting his flowers. So I think he deserves a shout out as well.
Nice. Yeah, I think Mazraoui's been surprisingly good and consistent for you guys. Coming in as a new player, you don't really know into a United squad that's been struggling over the past few years and been kind of chaotic, especially in the back line. A lot of moving parts. So for him to settle in and be that consistent player for you guys, that's been huge and really needed.
Yeah, and I think one thing I want to shout out is when I've read up on scouting, there's been one of the guys that I read up who talks about player scouting a lot, talks about how you should take note of when a player is trusted to play by multiple managers and trusted to play in multiple positions. Multiple positions, it usually means they're a very technically intelligent player. And Mazraoui for us has played left back, he's played right back, he's played right center back for us. He's played in the 10 for us this season. He's played all over the pitch, but managers consistently pick him and try and find ways to put him into the lineup because I think he's just a very technically gifted player that can kind of slot in all over the pitch. And I think that goes a long way as far as
Mm-hmm.
utility. Let's see. Another thing I want to talk about is, and just my initial concerns, just from watching the first few games of United, and then we can move on to the rest of what we got. So obviously, there's been a lot of positives. We got players scoring goals and performing well, but I think my only concerns that I've noticed so far is there are some limitations in the squad, especially with the ball. I think we'll struggle against teams that are more well organized, like an Arsenal, that can kind of apply more pressure and force us to really get uncomfortable in the patterns that we're trying to establish. Just because I think we still do lack a bit of technical ability, um, especially in our midfield. Kabi Menu is probably our best midfielder when it comes to playing under pressure. But outside of that, I'm a little bit concerned about our ability to pass out of pressure, especially when we have players like Casemiro in the midfield. So I think that's something to watch out for. I think he will be replaced eventually, not as soon as January, but probably as soon as next summer. And then left wing back, Amorim has come out and said that he thinks Diogo Dalot is a great player, but he doesn't think left wing back is his best position in the squad. I actually think he sees him as playing a right wing back and also just needs time to get used to the left wing back role because under Ten Hag, he played more of an inverting left back or inverting right back, and now he's being asked to kind of hug the touchline. So the angles are different and things like that. And I do see us needing a more long term left wing back player coming as well. But I think it's good to see that I think most of our limitations are from a player quality and a squad limitation perspective rather than, tactics not being there, the structure not being very good. So those are my concerns. Like I said, just to summarize it, just that we don't have the right players in our midfield and in our left wing back and left or in our defense. But outside of that, I have all the confidence in the world that we have a strong foundation to go off of, and I think that this team is only going to keep getting better.
Nice. Speaking of some of the struggles, United might struggle against a team like Arsenal. Big game for us on Wednesday. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about United, or do you want to jump into the predictions for this game?
Yeah, let's talk Arsenal versus United. I'm excited for this one. I would think it's going to be Emery's first big test, so it's going to be interesting to see how he responds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're recording this on Tuesday evening, so the game is tomorrow. You want to start with the predictions? You want to talk about more what lineup? Or maybe we start with what lineup you think United's going to go with, and I can share what I think Arsenal's going to start with, even though it's probably less surprising, less of a talking point because we've been established for a while now.
Yeah, yeah. Let me think about that. So the two major misses are going to be Kabi Menu is suspended for picking up his fifth yellow card, and then so is Lissandro Martinez. Both of them were not supposed to pick up their yellow cards in this game, and both
That hurts.
picked up silly yellow cards. Kabi Menu was playing his first game back from injury, and I think the idea was to get him up to speed so that he could play against Arsenal. And then right at the start of the second half, he received a pass from Onana off of a goal kick just right at the top of the 18 and just unnecessarily gave it away and had to foul the Everton. I think it was Dwight McNeil had to foul him to prevent him from basically having a free shot at goal. And he knew it and got suspended. So I think he was really disappointed about that. And then Lisandro Martinez was more of another ticky-tack foul. But all that to say, we're going to be missing them, and they're going to be big misses. Lisandro Martinez, at first, I wasn't really worried about missing him because Luke Shaw is a pretty natural left center back replacement. And it came out today that Luke Shaw picked up another minor injury. I don't think it's going to have him out for too long of a time, but at least for the Arsenal game, which is really disappointing because we don't have another natural left center back in the squad. So it's going to be really interesting to see how Amorim tries to adapt to that. So I guess just to jump into the lineup, starting from the back, Onana picks himself. And then I think that for the center backs, I think we're going to have probably still Mazraoui, right center back. Center back is probably going to be Matthias de Ligt. And then left center back, I could see being Harry Maguire. With him coming back from injury. I worry about Harry Maguire's ability to defend in the channels, which is something the left center back is going to have to do. But I think it's either going to be him or Johnny Evans. Just depends on who Ruben Amorim prefers there. And then left wing back, going to stick with Dello. And then our two center mids, with Kabi Menu being out, are probably going to have to be Manuel Ugarte and Casemiro. And then our front three, our right wing back is going to be Amad Diallo. I think just based on form, you can't drop him. He brings a lot of technicality, but also good effort and good energy out of possession. And then our front three is probably going to have to be Bruno, because Bruno seems undroppable for this team, Marcus Rashford, and then at striker, Rasmus Højlund, who didn't play a single minute versus Everton on Sunday after scoring 2 goals in the Europa League on Thursday. So I think that was not unintentional. I think we were resting him for this game and wanted him to feel fresh and ready to go. So that's what I think the lineup is going to be. I think one surprise addition could be Mason Mount if we feel like we need a little bit more work out of possession against Arsenal. But I really do see us starting Bruno in that left 10 or right 10, and then letting Rashford and Højlund kind of run off and kind of just be our threats on the counter against you guys is how I see this game going.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Yeah, definitely some big misses for you guys. I didn't realize Martinez and Manu both picked up suspensions. That Martinez one is especially, I mean, both of them are huge. Martinez one is especially big with Shaw being out. Because Maguire hasn't played in a while because of injury, correct?
Yeah, Maguire's been out with injury since probably beginning or mid-October. And he just played his first minutes for us again this past weekend. He came in and played maybe like 10, 15 minutes at the end of the game.
Okay. Yeah, for Arsenal, it should be the same back four and goalkeeper from this last match. So Raya, Calafiori at left, Gabriel Saliba, Timber, and midfield. That's where it might change up. Of course, we'll have Odegaard, and then I think Partey, Marino are still out. So I'm assuming we'll go with the same lineup: Jorginho and Rice, unless Partey, Marino come back. I'm assuming one of them would come in for Jorginho, and then I think Martinelli will actually start at the left wing instead of Trossard. And then we'll have Havertz and Saka finish out that lineup. So pretty standard lineup. We're pretty healthy at the moment, minus Partey, Marino, but I don't think either of those are too big of injuries. And I think we will put in Martinelli just for his pace to attack Ahmad and keep him pinned back.
Yeah, that sounds about right to me as well. I feel like there's no reason to change up your lineup or do anything too crazy the way you guys are playing. I would keep everything the same, besides maybe bringing some fresh legs. Like you said, with Martinelli on that left wing, let him kind of be a threat there. And attack right side of our defense, which is Mazraoui and Ahmad, who Mazraoui is not necessarily a natural center back, and then Ahmad obviously not a natural wing back either. So I see
Yeah.
that being effective.
And I guess you said Ahmad is defending more the left back, so he would be defending Calafiori more, who actually hasn't been bombing down the left side as much, but still, I still think Martinelli will be good on the left to his pace and his directness.
Yeah, yeah. So, look or hearing the lineups, what do you think the score's going to end up looking like?
I originally had it marked down as 2-0 to Arsenal. Now hearing the Martinez suspension, I saw that Shaw was injured and Manu out. I'm going 3-0 to Arsenal. I think we're in some of our best form. We're playing at home. Maguire is coming back from an injury, so he just isn't. Not to say he's not fit, but he's just not up to the game speed, I would say. And then your two more center defensive mids, I think, can be pressed at, and we can maybe get some turnovers that way. So I'm going 3-0 to Arsenal.
Gotcha. I'm looking at this, and I'd like to think that Amorim is going to be pretty pragmatic and set us up. Like, he's got a pretty decent rest defense, so I just don't see us getting caught on the counter or anything like that. But I also don't know if we'll have enough possession to be caught on the counter either. But I think right now I have the game down as a 2-1, but I really need to see the lineup first. I have an idea what I think the lineup will be, but I would like to see the lineup first, see how we line up. And then, but right now I have it down as kind of a 2-1 or maybe a 3-1 is what I'm between. Like, I think we nick a goal just because Rashford's in good form, Højlund's in good form. I think our attackers are playing really well right now, and Amorim's system seems to always be able to get the best out of his attackers. So I could see us nicking a goal, but Arsenal isn't giving up too much right now. And then defensively, just from what I've heard Amorim say, I feel like I see him being able to focus on shoring up the defense a bit and kind of focusing on that primarily over scoring goals. So I'm hoping that we don't let up too many. I think it really is going to depend on the game state. Like, I think if Arsenal can go out and score a goal really early and kind of the floodgates open, I could see y'all scoring a bunch of goals, but I could also see it being pretty cagey and kind of being a lower scoring affair if the game goes how I think it will.
Yeah, that's another great point is the game state. It'll be interesting, but I'm really excited. Just checking my work schedule to make sure I'm not working tomorrow after 3.
Yeah.
It's a 3 p.m. kickoff, right?
Yeah, 3:15, I think.
All right, cool. I'm going to go ahead and put down something on my calendar to block that time off so no one schedules anything.
Yeah, that's a really great point. I forgot to even check that for myself.
Yeah, thankfully I am free.
Yeah, let's see. Outside of that, though, I really hope that's going to end up being a good game. I'm really, really excited to see just Amorim versus his first big team. See how he sets up, see how pragmatic he is, or if because he's someone that says, I'm going to stick to my system, I'm going to stick to my way of play. So United are going to try and keep the ball, but I have faith that we will be able to keep it better than if we were an Erik ten Hag team, but still it's going to be a tough ask to adapt to Arsenal's high press because they're going to be the most organized team that we've played so far. So a lot to find out about both teams here.
Yeah, I'm just really excited to see Amorim as well and see how he holds up. And we're in great form, so to see us have a big game at home against a big rival is just always a fun watch.
Yep, exactly.
I know the stadium's going to be rocking with an evening game too. The same Emirates is going to be rocking. It's going to be a great spectacle.
Hopefully it's a good old classic United versus Arsenal match from back in the day, back in the glory days. Let's see. Let's talk about some other news going on in the world of football. There was the FA Cup third round draw. Not too much notable to come out of that, but there is an Arsenal versus United draw there as well. So we will be playing each other in the FA Cup That will be on January 11th, I believe. So that's
Yep.
another United Arsenal fixture to look forward to moving forward. Outside of that, there weren't too many other big matchups that came out of this draw. The only other Premier League matchup is Aston Villa versus West Ham. And then another cool fixture, but not really premier fixture, will be Everton versus Peterborough. Ashley Young will have a chance to play against his son, Tyler Young. His son, Tyler, is 18. Ashley Young is 39. And I'm not sure how often that's happened, but it will be a father-son matchup, which will be really cool to see, just for any neutral fan.
Yeah, looks like Tyler Young has only played, I believe that's his name. Looks like he's only played one game, one cup game for Peterborough. So TBD on anything if he gets on the pitch or makes the squad for the game. But cool storyline nonetheless.
Yeah, I'd hope his manager at least puts him in the squad. Probably doesn't start him, but hopefully throws him on for some garbage time minutes at the end, just for the storyline. But we'll see. It probably depends on how competitive the game is at that point and all that.
Yeah, I saw some in the comments, but yeah, it would be hilarious to see Ashley Young 2 foot his son because that's what Ashley Young is good for nowadays.
Yeah, I saw that as well. I thought that was awesome. They said, imagine getting to 2 foot your son for your because it's your job or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I wouldn't put
yeah.
it past him.
Also, very random, but shout out to Ashley Young for living up to his namesake. He still does look very young for being 39 years old, honestly.
Yeah, he looks it, but he doesn't play it. I mean,
No, yeah,
honestly, I
definitely
can't.
doesn't play.
Honestly, I can't stand the guy because I think he's pretty dirty, and he played for United for a long time. Can't stand the guy, but he does look young in the face and everything. I guess it helps playing football for 20 plus years
Yeah,
and until you're
exactly.
39.
Staying in shape.
Being an athlete,
It's,
yeah.
But moving back to the midweek games, I did want to give a quick shout out to my boy Ruud van Nistelrooy. He just took over Leicester City. It was his first game in charge this afternoon when Leicester played against West Ham, and he walked out of there with an emphatic 3-1 victory. It was 3-0 most of the game. West Ham scored a pretty garbage time goal at the end to make it 3-1, but great first game from Ruud. I'm happy to see that he's got some immediate success in the Premier League, and hopefully he can get this Leicester team competitive, and maybe he can keep them out of relegation. If he does, that would be awesome. But if not, I think he'll do great in the championship as well. But regardless, I'm really happy to see him doing well, and I'm glad he got the recognition he deserved after he did a really good interim job at United as well.
Yep, good shine for him.
And now I want to talk FPL real quick before we wrap up. That 2-1 Arsenal United line that I predicted, the one goal that I'm predicting comes from Højlund, and I say that because I did pick him back up in FPL this week. He was one of my transfers. Ill-advised to transfer him out and then transfer him back in, especially against Arsenal away.
Just couldn't help yourself.
I could not.
At least you back your boy. Stand behind your word.
I do. I back my boy. I do think I saw the way he performed midweek against Bodo in the Europa League. I know Bodo or Arsenal is not Bodo, but I got priced out of Nico Jackson, and I said I got to go back to my boy Rasmus Højlund. And so my two transfers this week were I got rid of Brian Mbeumo and brought in Bukayo Saka because I've been meaning to get Saka into my team, but I didn't think it was worth the hits. And then I got punished for that big time last week, and I said I'm not making that mistake again. So I got Saka in at all costs. And I think one thing that I thought was interesting that I've done maybe differently to a lot of FPL managers is a lot of FPL managers were getting rid of Bruno for Saka just because they were a little bit closer in price and allowed you to do a little bit more with your team elsewhere. But I couldn't abandon my boy Bruno like that, especially off the back of 2 assists. So I said, I'm keeping Bruno. So now I've got a big 4 midfield of Saka, Bruno, Palmer, and Salah. And then my 5th midfielder is still Semenyo. And then my 3 attackers are João Pedro, Cunha, and now Rasmus Højlund. I tried to get Nico Williams in there, but like I said, I got priced out of him. I hesitated. I had him in my team in my transfers. And I actually think it was, when did we go watch football? Was that Sunday or Saturday?
Saturday.
I think it was Saturday while we were out watching football. I didn't make the transfer before we met up.
Damn.
and then by the time I got home, I was already priced out of them. So
Jeez, because Chelsea played that day, right? On
I think
Saturday?
so. I think they did.
Yeah, I think that was the first, wasn't it? I think it happened on the first.
I think so. Whatever it was, I just remember Chelsea
Yeah.
played, and I immediately thought, "Oh, it's a short week coming up. People are going to be making transfers quickly. Like, let me try and get Nico in." And I had my team set, but I was kind of hesitating on what my moves were, and then got priced out of them. But it's all right. I'm happy to have my boy Rasmus back. And another thing that I want to call out that I did was I was playing around with my team at the deadline. I originally had Semenyo at home versus Tottenham in, and Rasmus Højlund first slot on my bench. And I just kept going back and forth, looking at Semenyo, and like I think he's a great pick. He's on pens. He's a great player involved in everything good that Bournemouth does, but he rarely has double returns. And I was looking at our mini league, and only 4 people had him, at least as of last week, and I didn't see anyone reaching to bring him in this week. So I didn't think I could get hurt too bad by not having Semenyo in my starting lineup, and so I knew it was dumb to start Rasmus Højlund versus Arsenal compared to Semenyo at home versus Tottenham, but my heart was telling me I want Højlund. So what I did with like a minute left in the deadline, I just kept switching it back and forth and back and forth and back and forth up until it just cut me off. And
Nice.
it cut me off with Højlund starting. So I was like, I feel like it was meant to be.
There you go. That's
So
that's a good way to make that decision because it sounded like you were very 50-50, so I like that from you.
So I'm hoping it works out for me. Those are my FPL moves for the week. I wanted to try and get a different defender in because I feel like my back line is looking really weak. It is Nori, Rico Lewis at home to Forest, and then Gabriel, who's obviously a great pick. And then my 2 bench defenders are Mikolenko and Greaves from Ipswich. So that's probably going to be the next move I'm making my team, bar any major injuries to my front 7 or however many there are, front 8. But yeah, that's all I got FPL wise. What about you?
Nice. So I played my wild card 2 weeks ago, game week 12, and it's been going really well. Gotten 2 straight green arrows. One, I went up by like 470K, and this past week went up 400K. So I've been really happy with the players I picked and how everything's shaping out. I've got the same exact midfield as you, except I started Semenyo this week instead of Bruno. So I'll be on the opposite side of that decision you made. But going through my team, I've got Verbruggen in goal. They've got Brighton have a really good run of fixtures. They're playing Leicester away. They're not keeping many cleans, but good run of fixtures, and he was cheap. Then I've got Timber. Actually, 1 second. The fixtures aren't right on this. Okay. I got to pick. I was on pick team, so that was next week.
Gotcha.
I've got to go over the points. Okay, yeah. So we got so Brighton are playing Fulham away. Then we've got Timber home to United. Anthony Robinson having Bournemouth at home. He's been unlucky on the assists the past 2 weeks. I think he should have gotten an assist both times, and they've given up goals in each of the games, so that's been a bummer. But I still like him. I've had him all year. I think he always has a lot going forward, and they're a good enough defense, and he's cheap, so I like having Robinson. And then as part of one of my moves this week, I took out Konate for Colwill. Don't love Chelsea's defense, but they've got also really good fixtures. They're playing Southampton away, and honestly, there weren't many other cheap defenders I was interested in. I don't really trust any team to keep a clean sheet right now. I was looking at Hena because he's been having a great season, but they've got a terrible run of fixtures for the next 3. So I do not want to bring him in at the moment. Then my midfield is Palmer, Semenyo, Salah, Saka with Bruno on the bench. Really happy with my midfield. I captained Palmer. I think Southampton are terrible. They love giving away goals. So I expect a haul from him. And then up top I got Yao Pedro, Wissa, who was big for me last week, and then I took out Isak for Nico Jackson this week. That was a kind of a big debate in the community, it seemed like, whether you should get rid of Isak for Nico Jackson. I have 3 free transfers and really like the way my team's set up, so I don't foresee myself having many transfers to make in the future. So I thought it was a luxury transfer I was willing to make, especially for this week against Southampton. Jackson's just getting so many chances, and I expect him to get a ton of chances against Southampton. And then in 2 weeks, I think, is when, in game week 16, is when Isak has 2 games against the promoted teams. I'd be happy to take Jackson out for Isak, or maybe see if I can get Wissa up to Isak somehow. But yeah, that's my team at the moment.
Yeah, I like all those moves. I was looking at Colwill as well as a cheap defender. Um, that was kind of why I decided against, or the not having that many good cheap defender options was why I decided against making that move this week, especially with it having to be for a hit if I did. But I was looking at Colwill just because of Chelsea's fixtures, not necessarily because I think he's an incredible asset himself going forward, or because I think they'll, have a lot of clean sheets. I just thought for the price and for the team that he's on, it was looking good. And then I also agree with Isak. I was just tired of him. I'm tired of Newcastle, and I think they're also playing away this week as well.
Yeah.
So Newcastle isn't very good on the road. Isak's kind of
They're
just
playing
annoying me to watch.
they're playing home to Liverpool, but it's
Oh,
Liverpool.
home? Oh, that's what it was. Bad fixture. Regardless, yeah, it was the bad fixture that threw me off. And they're already playing poor as a team. He had that hip injury as well. I'm not sure if they came out and said that he's going to be all right. I think he said he was fine, but Eddie Howe came out in a press conference and said that he hasn't trained all week. So that wasn't something I was willing to flirt with. And for the price that he's at, I need guaranteed goals. So I'm like, let me just gamble. And that's who I brought Hoyland in for. And if it doesn't work out, it's whatever. I think a lot of people are moving off of Isak anyway, so hopefully that doesn't burn me too bad. And that also enabled me to be able to bring in Saka as well, which is really more so the selling point over anything else.
Yeah. Yep. That'll make sense to me. Wissa was big for me last week. He was more of a differential I went with because there's so many forward options out there. I'm really glad that he scored and Cunha didn't, because that was one of my big bets on wild card that was going to pay off, was going for Wissa, because not many people were with him. So he got me 8 points where Cunha got 2. It wasn't as much as Cunha's been getting recently, but I was still happy with that. They're playing Villa away. Villa have been really poor recently, but still not a great fixture. It'll be interesting to see how. I'm hoping Wissa does something for me, but he's going on a pretty tough run. They got Newcastle home, then Chelsea away, then Forest at home, who have been good, and then Brighton, then Arsenal. Yeah, so they've got a tough run coming up. So this might be the last week for Wissa and my team. We shall see. But yeah, I'm just happy with my team overall. Got 1 free transfer still, so I'll have 2 next week. So feeling good with where I'm at. I'm just going to keep riding, trying to stay ahead of the curve.
Nice. Well, we got plenty of games tomorrow to see how our players fare. I hope my moves end up working out. I've had to take some risky moves here to try and kind of get my team in a better place. I think my wild card early set me down a path that I thought was going to be all right, but I've had to make some corrective moves after corrective moves. But I feel okay about my team. Obviously, there's some questions, with Hoyland, but I think for right now, I'm happy with it, and we'll see how it goes. You get any more FPL talk or anything from the Premier League in general?
I don't think so. I'm just really looking forward to this Arsenal versus United game tomorrow.
Yeah.
I wish it was on the weekends so we could do another one of our watch-alongs, like live streams. We need to do another one of those, but unfortunately with it being a work day, I don't think that's going to be feasible. But pumped for the game nonetheless.
Yeah, pumped for the game as well. I think it'll be interesting to see how City does against Forest tomorrow. Hopefully Newcastle can have a classic St. James bounce back game versus Liverpool, take some points off of them. And then another big one coming up, not midweek, but this weekend. We've got Chelsea versus Spurs on Sunday. Spurs are at home, so that should be a fun one. And then I think that's really like the other big game coming up this weekend, but tons of footy. There's going to be tons to talk about, I'm sure, over the next few days, and I'm excited to run it back in a little bit.
Yep.
All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in. That's all we got for you this week. You guys enjoy the games, and we will talk to you later. Peace. Nice.